Well, a very good afternoon to you and welcome to the Farm Kenya show. Now, today is quite an interesting discussion. Sometimes you do business and you make your money and people start telling you, oh, you're doing fishy business, And today we are literally talking about aquaculture, fish and many more in that particular value chain. It is one of the delicacies, one of the most preferred proteins in this country and the continent and across the world. And the whole value chain offers such value proposition that is quite attractive. But a lot of us don't know how to begin. I mean, do I need to dig my own pond or do I need to go and list some portions of Lake Victoria? And if at all I'm up the value chain, where do I source? Where do I preserve this highly perishable, food and whatnot? So we're going to talk about aquaculture from production all the way to your plate, and even touch on quality, which is one of the major considerations in this particular market that we call Kenya and Africa at large. And this discussion shall be handled by an expert. He's done agriculture, his post-campus life, and even during campus. So he's grown in this, and now this his lifeline. Talk about John Eric, who's the technical project manager at Lattice Agriculture. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you.
I mean, looking forward, when you're coming in, people are like, John is a Gen Z, so he'll be able to break this thing down for us. But when you talk about the history of aquaculture and Kenya, when you talk about fish consumption, where do you place that in our history moving back? Has it always been a delicacy that has featured in African meals, Kenyan meals to be specific?
Yeah, we are a fish-eating nation. I would start from that. I know for a long time it was limited to around Lake Victoria, but then it's not the same story anymore. I think within the 1960s and 50s when we did the Eat More Fish campaign, and we had in 2009 the economic stimulus program that actually championed aquaculture across the country. Mm-hmm. Now it's not a cultural thing that's limited to, say, the Luo community, but we've come to appreciate fish as an important nutritious food that everybody can eat. A key challenge has always come around how do you prepare it, and I believe now with the internet and the integration that we have around Kenya and Africa, it's easy to prepare fish.
Definitely.
Africa is actually very rich in fresh waters, so it's not only a Kenyan story, it's a story across the continent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And we're going to be unpacking that, where we are as a country, as a continent, the potential that the sector holds, and what are those changes that we need to make, if at all this sector is to marry well to the larger vision of the country when you talk about food security, when you talk about, economic progression and provision of employment. It holds so much potential. We'll be unpacking that later on. So looking forward to this discussion with John Eric, technical project manager at Lattice Aquaculture. But right now, let's go to Agri News. All right, when you talk about tea, in the context of culture right now, especially young people, tea is, information. Give me some tea on this and that. But specifically on tea as a product, one of our major foreign income earners in this particular country, the whole sector is facing a lot of changes. Specifically, the Kenya Tea Development Agency actually quite a number of reforms are being rolled out to make sure that loopholes are being filled when it comes to revenue leakage. Now, speaking in Kipiamit village in Kipkelion East constituency, Agriculture Principal Secretary Paul Rono declared an immediate ban on the use of farmers' money as collateral for bank loans, a practice that has left small-scale growers exposed, while factory bosses under KTDA cut shady deals with lenders.
Huyo ukora yenye iko yenye machani ya mkulima inatumika kuwa collateral kwa bank kuchukua loan, hiyo ikomeshwe. Hiyo maneno ya ninaona maneno ya forex, badala ya kufungua account kwa kila factory wanafungua one general account, wanachezea hiyo forex exchange. Hiyo tumechua na tutakucha sasa. Wale directors ya zamani ya saa hii tutafanya forensic audit, tuone vile asset yenye wamepata walipata kutoka wapi. Tukipata ni mali ya umma, mali ya mkulima, watakutana na mkono mrefu ya serikali.
Kuna mreidhi ambaye atakuja sehemu hii ya Kipkelion East ambaye anasimamia mambo ya cooperatives. Nimesikia mkiongea mambo ya mau, mambo ya maziwa, mjitayarishe. Tutakuja tuje tufanye mambo ya civic education, mambo ya cooperatives, na tuhakikishe kwamba mmepata hizo pesa.
Some of us prefer our tea with sugar, others don't. Now, if you prefer your tea with sugar, sugar plantation workers are asking the government and the country to pay them their arrears. And this particular figure stands at 10.8 billion shillings. They're saying that if at all these arrears are not cleared, they will paralyze operations. Now, these workers are accusing the government of failing to honor their repeated pledges before the state sugar milling factories were leased out to the private investors, and they say, you better clear our money or else we will down tools.
What we know is that there are workers who have exited from the factories. They have children who are supposed to go to school. They have their families to take care of. And yet nothing has been paid to them to date. Some of them have fallen sick. Some have even died as a result of this frustration. The retained workers similarly are also waiting for their arrears and their benefits. The total benefits plus arrears totals to 10.8 billion, of which the minister had indicated that it should be paid in phases, but the first phase was to be the arrears of calculating it 1.9 billion. This has not been done. We are not working with a failed state. We are working with a state that is very vibrant. And if it can fail to pay what is supposed to be paid, then let us not rush to conclusions that might end up portraying a negative image to the government.
Now, I'm pretty sure you've experienced this innovation of conversion of containers, shipping containers into different things. Some people are building houses, sort of refurbishing the containers, but also this could be used in marketplaces to establish shops, small shops. So, due to this particular innovation in the Kericho area, the Ministry of Agriculture and the Kenya National Highways Authority, that is KNHA, actually resolved an impasse surrounding the installation of shipping containers converted into grocery shops along the Kericho-Nakuru Highway at Chepsion Market in Kipkelion East constituency. Now, this dispute arose over concerns that the containers, dubbed Mama Shops, were encroaching on the road reserve. That was the concern. However, following a joint inspection of the site, Agriculture Principal Secretary Paul Rono confirmed that the area earmarked for the project lies outside the Kenha Beacons.
Na kama wizara wa kilimo tumeanza hii program kuhakikisha kwamba hawa mama wametolewa kwa barabara, na tumeweka hapa mobile shops yenye tukitaka kutoa tunatoa, lakini nimeona hii ya Chepseon tumeweka mbali ya road reserve. Tukiona hapa unaona post ya road reserve iko upande hili na hizo mashop iko upande mwingine, haichakuswa barabara.
Mama mboka hakuna tena kunyeshewa. Tumemwambia asante sana kwa hiyo manyumba. Tumenyeshewa siku mingi kwa hii barabara, jua, baridi, upepo na mvua sana.
Now let's talk blue economy, where Kenya's ambition to grow its blue economy and tap into the lucrative global seafaring jobs continue to face a major structural bottleneck. What are we talking about? Kenya lacks a dedicated training vessel for marine cadets. That is one of the hurdles. Also, the shortfall has made sea time training a partner challenge, forcing the government to pursue agreements with ship-owning nations to secure placements for Kenyan cadets aboard foreign vessels. We should be doing things a little bit different right there. The gap is raising questions on Kenya's ability to fully capitalize on employment opportunities in the international shipping industry.
From the 120, today we are flagging off 10. And again, as we speak, 43 cadets are already on board various vessels. And again, 7 have since disembarked. And now 10 are here being flagged off. So this problem of sea time, we are tackling it and we are handling it without any reservations whatsoever, because the training for maritime education is not complete until one attains the mandatory sea time. We've been able to sign recently an MOU with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, so there's more opportunities coming. We've also signed an MOU with the Dominican Republic, and we are also very soon signing an MOU with Singapore.
The country should know that one at a time will be able to wipe out all the other remaining students who are yet to get sea time opportunities. Bandari is the institution that does this. We urge all our people who would want to train in maritime to come to Bandari, because we basically look for opportunities for them beyond the training that we offer here.
All right, and right now, we want to take a look at the segment Farm Guide. Now, talking about Farm Guide, you know, we are told that sometimes, actually it's not sometimes, it's all the time. Never judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. And now technology is changing that. Fish might soon be able to climb trees. What am I talking about? There's an innovation all the way in China where researchers at the Shedong Institute of Commerce and Technology in Zhejiang have developed a breakthrough method that allows fish to survive out of water for up to 72 hours. That is 3 days, potentially transforming fish transportation and storage. Okay, now this has nothing to do with climbing trees. Now, inspired by animals that enter dormancy during winter, the project's founder, Zhang Shangfeng, said the technique works by carefully lowering the fish's body temperature to slow its metabolism. This induces a dormant state, enabling the fish to remain alive without water for as long as 3 days. And this story is in partnership with Viori.
In nature, animals like frogs and snakes usually need dormancy. Fish are also heterothermic animals that external temperatures will affect its metabolism. In this case, we could decrease the metabolism by reducing the external temperature. We could turn the temperature into the so-called biological freezing temperature, and the fish will go to a dormant state. We started the project in April 2010, and so far we have done research on hypnotizing fish waterless parking, transporting and revitalizing. At the end of 2019, we developed the commercialized exploration of the research, where we transported tarbot fish from Shandong province to Hainan province and did another trial by transporting the Boston lobster within the city.
Wow, that's amazing innovation right there. And I was just chatting here with John. Like very soon we'll give fish some legs now. And now we're transporting them without water and they are alive and you're able to revitalize them on the other end. I mean, what do you make of such innovation, especially as somebody in the aqua space?
I find it interesting. I mean, it takes me back to the very first attempts to have aquaculture in Kenya. It was sort of a similar story from a very unrelated point of view. So there's this guy called Ewart Grogan. It was called the baddest and the boldest of the bad, bold gang. He brought trout from Scotland to the rivers around Mount Kenya. And he actually froze the eggs on ice and transported them on moss all the way to Mount Kenya. And they got on train, and when they got to the rivers, it took a week or so, and the eggs hatched. And that's how we got to have rainbow trout in Kenya. And it was the first fish farming exercise in this country. Mm-hmm. So such innovations or attempts, they actually make people believe. If a fish farmer sees this, he's like, oh, I can actually think outside the box and make more of my enterprise.
Makes sense. Innovation is always pushing the boundaries and creating new opportunities. And even in the larger discussion of aquaculture in Kenya right now, innovation plays a critical role in sort of leapfrogging it into the next stage that it needs to be. But let's start with the basics. When you talk about aquaculture, for scholars, we want to tick that box. Definitions are very important. When you talk about aquaculture, what does it entail? How far and wide does it go?
So aquaculture is basically farming of fish and fish-related aquatic animals and plants. And as you've said, back to the basics, why do we have to farm fish? I mean, when I went to do a fisheries course, it was hard to explain to my grandfather, who had a stint at fishing, that I'm going to the university to study how to grow fish. So it always takes me back to why. And it's about the human nutrient deficiency issue, which is a global phenomenon, but very common in low and mid-income countries like Kenya. And fish has always been a go-to source of cheap protein. And for a very long time, we sustained ourselves by simply catching fish that was in the lake or the ocean, occurring naturally. But then with time, the population is increased. I mean, we are 8 billion people on the planet. Resources are very limited. So even the fish in the lake, of course, mismanagement notwithstanding, it cannot sustain the demand. And therefore, again, like I said before, we have to think outside the box. Could we find ways to have an alternative source of fish? And that's how we came up with aquaculture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's very interesting because the law of supply and demand always is at play. And when that imbalance comes, innovation is and thinking outside the box is what pushes you. So for Kenya, from a production level, because I know a lot of people are watching us and they're very much interested to get into fish farming. As it is for different tiers, because there's somebody who wants to start small. I have a little bit of capital here. if you want to go into fish farming, what are we looking at minimum, at the basic level?
Yeah, so fish farming is a continuum, the same way innovation is a continuum. I mean, there's the radical innovation, like the example we've seen in China, but then there's the slow and minor incremental innovative exercises we have around. It's the same thing with aquaculture as a whole. There's the very extensive, which is very low, small scale, which you do not require huge capital. You need a pond, for example, 300 square meters, around 40,000 Kenya shillings, and you've constructed it. Normally we don't dig it, we construct it with the water in it. Okay. And around 1,000 fish, depending on the size you want to harvest them at, because a pond has a maximum carrying capacity. The main investment post the capital investment is on feed, which is a major operational cost. Normally around 70% of your cost is feed. So again, tying this closely to innovation, one of the things we're trying to figure out is how do we reduce the cost of production, which is closely related to the cost of feed, availability of feed, and accessibility of feed, because our farmers are having to import the feed. So we have the small farms that sometimes have to make their own feeds, that is homemade feed. And you go slightly more commercial, you're forced to buy commercial feed, which is often imported and more expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about the food on Kenyans' tables, agricultural products are majorly supplied by smallholder farmers.
Yeah.
In the aqua space, is it similar? How is the market segmented as we speak?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. I look at it as 80-20 rule. So we have a majority of farmers being smallholder farmers, over 80% of them. But then the few big farms produce 80% of the fish. So 20% of the farmers producing 80% of the fish. It's a very interesting dynamic because to me it's a signal of opportunity for growth, because if we empowered all these 80% of farmers to grow fish to their potential, then we stand a chance of significantly increasing our production. And back to law of supply and demand, what justifies the demand? You look at Kenya's current per capita fish consumption, it has actually gone down. Before we've always had around 4 kgs of fish per person per year, so that's the per capita fish consumption. This has actually gone down to around 2.5 kilos per person per year.
Why?
Which is very low, because the World Health Organization recommended per capita consumption of fish is around 10.4 kilos. So you can see that big gap. So in as much as our aqua sector has grown, actually we've increased our production by over 10% in the last couple of years. But then the demand has increased by around 24%. So it means we're still lagging behind. There's a big demand.
Okay. That's quite interesting. So essentially, the population is growing faster than production.
Exactly.
So there's a huge market. There's no oversupply in this sector. How do we import a lot? Just briefly before we take a short break, because I know there is fish from China and whatnot. There seems to be a huge demand.
Yeah, there's huge demand. So our key sources of fish, we have inland and marine and coastal finfish, which is harvested by fishermen.
Okay.
Then we have the aquaculture segment, which is growing but still contributing less than 10%. Then we have the imported fish, and we have mollusks and crustaceans, which is a small portion of it. The importation is still huge, especially for tilapia, because we're not producing enough. But we also export Nile perch. Of course. Yeah.
That's an interesting market dynamic.
Yeah.
And let's take a short break. I'll be interested to know why maybe particular market preferences do contribute that. I know Kenyans will love tilapia, and not many are exposed to especially marine, from the sea products.
Yeah.
So maybe also there is a huge margin of growth and interest, which we shall be exploring. But in studio we have John Eric, and he says that this is a sector that you want to come into. And whether you want to be part of the 80% or you want to be part of the 20%, I'd prefer that you're part of the 20% so that you can produce more and also gain more from the whole production aspect of it. We take a short break right here, the Farm Kenya Show. Still more to come. Stay tuned, because this conversation will only get fishier. Stay tuned.
Posted yesterday? Still no calls? Your brand deserves more than silence. Get seen, get sales, get into hashtag Tukosoko. Just 6K puts your biz in front of 5 million people in just 2 days. Ads on Standard Digital, traffic, visibility, results. Tukosoko. Call or WhatsApp 0704 565545. Let's sell something. Your hustle, our platform, we've got you.
Say yes to a box full of what you love only on your StarTimes decoder. Renew your subscription and unwrap endless entertainment. Download the StarTimes On app to enjoy all your favorite shows and stream live channels on the move. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
Investing in your art is one of the topest. For production to happen like what you're doing here, we have very many people who are involved. We have the people who work with lights, we have the camera operators, we have the set designers. So if you can pick on one and stick with it, your life will be kind of easier. But if you keep switching tasks, today when ni gaffer, kesho when ni DOP, kesho when ni something else, it derails you a lot, and people don't like that.
Bajo el cielo roto de promesas sin sentido,
where deceit lurks behind every smile, and crimes threatens to tear everything apart.
Come out.
But even in the darkest moments, family is the bond that can't be broken.
Happy birthday.
When the drama is too much to bear, there's always comedy to heal the heart.
You should have let me die instead.
I don't have money for another funeral. Silly girl.
This is more than just a story. It's life. Passion and redemption. KTN Telenovelas, where every emotion tells a story.
The one that is most expensive is the lake fish, because the lake fish is sweet. The ones in Naivasha, you will get some that are not good, and at the same time, if you get that Naivasha fish, you put it on the slabs when you want to sell. When it reaches that around, when it takes almost 2 to 3 hours, it turns bad.
Well, that was Sauti Mkulima, and it was very, it finished as fast as the Naivasha fish turning bad, according to a sentiment. But that is kind of interesting, John. Because fish comes from different areas. We have predominantly, like Victoria has been traditionally known for fish. And there they suffered the consequences of overfishing, which is also a major problem. But when you listen to a farmer and this kind of market preferences, as an expert, as a practitioner in this field, what does your antenna point to? What exactly is happening right there?
Yeah, sometimes it's different products. We have many fish species. So around Lake Victoria, it's majorly tilapia, Nile perch, you have catfish, you have omena. When you talk of Lake Naivasha, the first thing that comes to mind is common carp, which is actually different from tilapia, although people sometimes confuse them. So you don't expect tilapia to taste same as common carp or even catfish. Mm-hmm. But then sometimes where fish stays affects how they taste. So that's why when we started the aqua conversation, there was the notion that farmed fish does not taste as good as the lake fish. It's a notion that has been drummed down a little bit because consumers to some point realized they didn't have a choice. They had to eat the farmed fish. But then if you look at it scientifically, there's actually an explanation. You grow fish in a small space in a pond, and the mud, there's accumulation of off-taste bacteria in the flesh of the fish. So by the time you harvest it and give it out to the consumers, you realize there's an off flavor to it. But then as farmers, we figured this out. So allow me call myself a farmer now.
Yeah.
So we figured this out and we realized, we can actually play around with the farming conditions and ensure that the taste of farmed fish is same as that you'd catch in the lake. So it's something you can control. It's an aspect that we love to bring to the attention of farmers, and we don't just, say farmed fish doesn't taste as good as the natural fish from the lake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So the premise that we set earlier on, the foundation is the market is too big. The supply is not meeting the demand of the market. And that has moved traditional fish production from their natural habitats and distribute it across the country so that you can do commercial fish farming from wherever you are. And even when we are chatting about Lattice as a company, that was one of the major breakthrough, because you guys went to Nyahururu to try and produce fish that traditionally has been grow up in Lake Victoria, a very equatorial. The equator passes right there, so it's very warm, and technology was part and parcel of that movement. Talk to me about this aspect of going into commercialization, but also distribution of fish production to non-traditional fish producing areas.
Yeah, so we're trying to minimize the pressure on Lake Victoria, just to be more specific. Kenya only has 6% of the lake. and it's not only used as a source of fish. I mean, this water it's a transportation route. We have guys using the water for many other reasons. So if we only depended on one resource, such as Lake Victoria, then the result is detrimental. We find overpollution, and as a result, the catch and even the performance of fish cages go down. So we're saying, could we diversify methods we use to grow fish? And as we do that, could we widen the geographical scope of fish farming? Could we make it more accessible? So that's how we come up with alternative farming systems, whereas before we thought you could only grow fish in a pond, and then realized, oh, we could actually raise this pond if you're in a terrain that's hilly and not flat. We realized, oh, we could actually grow fish in a tank. And instead of needing 300 square meter to grow 1,000 fish, we could actually grow 5,000 fish in 50 cubic meters of water, which a typical tank is only 8 meters diameter. So it's about finding alternative ways to grow fish and increasing the geographical scope. The thing is, we have to adapt, and that's the spirit of sustainability. If you are around the central region of the country where it's relatively colder, and the fish we're growing is a warm water fish, that's tilapia, then we have to find a system that enables us to control the water quality parameters. You can just play with the knob and your temperature goes up and your fish are happy and growing, rather than try to grow fish in a cold environment without the control mechanism. So we've adapted to a great extent, although we are not there yet, but we're looking at innovation, as I said before, as a continuum. And it's not just about the product, but also the process. As we grow the fish, what small change could you make that would make your fish grow better in this area that's very far from the conventional fish growing area?
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you look at the aqua ecosystem in the country, with all these changes that are coming in, first of all, interest is very important because this lies in commercial viability. If I can make money from it, most likely I'll put a lot of effort. Are we seeing much interest? And what are the barriers that this aspect of exploring alternative, fish farming systems, what are the barriers that are hindering, full adaptation and scaling of these farming systems?
Yeah, so I've actually said this before, although in a different forum, that aquaculture can only justify its existence in commercial terms. I mean, there has to be an incentive why I shouldn't grow maize and construct a pond and put fish instead. There has to be the incentive in it. So there has to be a commercial sense in everything we do. So we're looking at a situation where cost of production remains up and sometimes keeps rising, but then the market offers the same price for the product you produce in this process. And that's the key challenge that fish farmers often face. And anyone who wants to get into aquaculture, I'll start by telling you it's not easy, okay? Let's get it from there. It's like any other business. You have to look at your inputs and compare with your outputs, and that's what builds the value chain, because every segment of the value chain, every actor in each of those segments, your key role is to increase the value for the end consumer. And as you do that, there has to be a business sense for you. So the key challenge right now is around feeds, because it's 70% of your cost of production, and it's relatively expensive. So that has been one of the key bottlenecks that we're currently struggling with. There has been the issue of seeds. High quality fingerlings to stock in a pond or a cage is quite a challenge. Now, many cages on Lake Victoria currently, you go to a farm and you find 50% of the cages are not stocked, and you ask them why. They tell you, my fingerling supplier told me to wait for a month or 2 months before I could get fingerlings. The other key issue we're struggling with is skills. If you could have the feeds, you could have the fingerlings, but if you do not have the technical capability to do it, then again you're burning your fingers. And that's why as Lattice we have an aquaculture academy. So we've made it our goal that anyone that comes through the academy should have an appreciation of what it takes to grow the fish and the right capabilities that would enable them achieve the efficiencies that you need. I mean, when your cost of production is high, you need to be efficient so that you have a competitive advantage in the market at the end of the day.
Okay.
Last but not least is financing. Yeah, just reading a report last week. So we need around $12 billion in investment in African aquaculture for us to get to a point where we would say we are close to our potential. So being a relatively new space, banks are often shy because it's a risky enterprise. So you realize farmers do not have that access to finance, and it's one of the things we're currently struggling with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Since 70% of running this business goes towards feeds, I mean, we solve that. We solve the majority of the challenge in the sector. What opportunities, low-hanging fruits, especially for those who are coming, hopefully for this 80%, and even for this 20% who are producing 80%. How do we solve this issue of feed to make sure that we are having affordable feed for fish?
Yeah, one of the low-hanging fruits, and I would say an obvious avenue to fixing it, is local production of high-quality feeds. It's been a key challenge where, we try to compare locally produced feeds with the ones we import, and farmers often testify that they get better yield and result with the imported feed, and that's the feed conversion ratio. How much feed do you need to grow a unit of fish? And if we could have local production of high quality feeds, I think that would a major achievement. But then what's been stopping us from doing that for a long time, one of them is sourcing of raw materials. In as much as we would put up the factory in Kenya, you realize we still need to get raw materials from Brazil, from Asia, or from Zambia if you're in Kenya, for example. And that implies that you'll produce it locally, but it's still expensive because your raw materials are coming from elsewhere. So, and that's why I love the value chain conversation, because it starts from the raw materials. Could we then grow the raw materials locally and produce the feed locally? And so that would be one of the avenues. The other one is policies. Import duties and tariffs. It's been an ongoing conversation. The feed often come in and they're taxed very heavily. And this being a food producing sector and looking at the 80% smallholder farmers, if we wanted to have a significant boost of the sector, then I think it's an area to touch on.
Definitely.
A low-hanging fruit to a farmer who currently has fish and might not have to wait for the factory to be set up, is you've bought the expensive feed. How about you use it properly? And that's around the efficiency. It's a lot of money. Don't throw the money. So learn how to feed your fish properly as we sort out the other issues, because most of the money is lost after the feed has arrived on the farm. So how do you store the feed? What are your feeding regimes? Sometimes you find a farmer throws feed in the water and the fish are not hungry, they're not interested in the feed, and it will float there for a couple of hours, compromises your water quality, and that means your fish won't be eating even the next day. And so it's a challenge.
Yeah, it's a whole challenge in of itself. But the beautiful thing is that solution-oriented conversations such as this help us move forward. The other element that you had mentioned is having equipped people. That's hence the school, which is very, very important. But I'm looking at these farmers. Okay.
Yeah.
we are in a country whose average age or median age is 19 or 20.
Yeah.
Conversation that has always been there, even this show. We've done it for a couple of years. We always mention the average age of a farmer in the country is 65, and we say how farming is old, and people are on walking sticks while taking care of their animals. But huge unemployment rate amongst young people.
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at the fish or aqua value chain, do you think this is one of those tools or avenues that could solve this problem that is befacing not only Kenya but Africa as a very young continent?
Yeah, it is. I was looking at the numbers the other day, and just looking at the 2019 census, it's quite incredible. 75% of us are below 35, and 30% of that is between 18 and 34. Mm-hmm. And so I personally think that the average age of a farmer being 65 is somewhat a fallacy, because then it means it's a very tiny segment of people would be producing food in the country. Mm-hmm. And so it means for agriculture and aquaculture to be more specific to work, the youth have to be involved. So most of the programs we currently run are actually aimed at youth and women inclusion, where we don't want it to be an accident. We actually target these segments of the population because they're the majority. And you know what they say about empowering a woman, what it does to the society. And the youth being the majority, we have to adapt to that. And going back to the school issue, at the academy, we have what we call howtodoaquaculture.com. It's something you just need to go to any browser, howtodoaquaculture.com. And over the years, we've done over 100 videos that have been translated to various languages, including Swahili, that a farmer could follow step by step on how do you grow the fish. So leveraging digital platforms, it's just one of the innovative ways we're trying to push this, because for lack of a better term, we have to make aquaculture sexy. So then the youth would be more interested. I mean, the social dynamics of, say, land ownership, for example, which is dominated by the relatively older guys, comes to play. But then those are the key hurdles we have to get past for us to actually include the key segments of the population in enterprises such as aquaculture, which is becoming very important in food production.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Money is sensitive, as you earlier mentioned it. Agriculture has been deemed very risky.
Yeah.
And traditional finance, traditional capital is very averse in that area. So we've seen, and we've had discussions here with people from different sectors. People are making interventions with smallholder farmers, just find a way to de-risk the sector and sort of encourage traditional finance, especially, on lend and push money into this particular sector. So for aquaculture, part of the interventions that you're doing to sort of bring and de-risk this sector, I don't know how you guys, is it a different approach from the traditional way of seeing somebody comes with funds, gives it to a big bank and says, okay, now we need you to channel it towards this particular sector, this particular rate, hopefully. How does it happen in aqua?
It's more of an exaptation to what's done in the overall agriculture sector. So we're saying this is what's happening, how can we make it better and more suitable for aquaculture, for example. So what we've done, an example for us is we believe knowledge sharing and actually training farmers is a key avenue to de-risking. Because if you're a farmer, if I'm a bank and I wanted to lend you and I could have the comfort of just knowing that you know what you're doing, because I do not know that much. It's aquaculture, it's a niche area. It's not obvious to everybody. So us ensuring that farmers are well informed, and even the banks themselves, because the key reason why banks for a long time didn't lend to aquaculture is they didn't understand it. You don't put your money to something you don't understand. So we are touching on both ends, the producer and the financer, to just ensure that there's common knowledge upon which we could assess a farmer and do the usual assessments that the bank needs to do. Other than that, we're looking at alternative financing avenues. For example, value chain financing, where as a way to de-risk the farmers, we are trying to ensure there is market. So we give you the input, you produce the fish. Once it's produced, it's so controlled, the money is paid back to whoever gave out the money, and the farmer gets the profit, and the input provider gets their money. So value chain financing is working quite well in certain regions. We're also seeing a lot of donor interest in the sector, where we're looking at the vulnerable communities. By them getting involved and supported, it's one way of financing. Yeah.
And as we close this up, bottom line is the people are the foundation. We run this system, and it's also for our benefit. And you mentioned, per capita consumption of fish. The recommended one is 10 kg per capita. That is 10 kg. This is your consumption of, it should be your consumption of fish every year.
Yeah.
Right now we are playing at 2.5, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
That's quite a huge, we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
Do we have like a vision 2030 to hit these targets? I know some of the interventions that you guys are making foundationally also to solve that. But how do you achieve this goal?
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I mean, there's a huge gap, supply gap in the sector. And the joke I often make is, if it doesn't grow, I'm out of business in the next couple of years. So it's in my best interest that it grows.
Yeah.
So aquaculture has been recognized by the government as a key contributor to the GDP and food security. So in that respect, we have a ministry that's dedicated to that. We have various parastatals like the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Institute that are dedicated to it. I think we're starting to have a very strong private sector that's made quite a huge investment in ensuring that production actually increases. And as that happens, we're looking at it from a very commercial angle, where it's not just produce, but where does the fish go once you produce it? So we're strengthening the market, we're leveraging digital platforms, and offtake is becoming a mainstream thing in aquaculture. Like I say, justification is only in commercial terms. I mean, there's the talk on sustainability, which is very, very key. And we believe that aquaculture is very sustainable and efficient when done the right way. So to bridge that gap, it's looking at the entire value chain and everyone understanding their role, which is the gospel we're preaching. And I believe we'll get there.
Definitely. Very positive outlook.
Yeah.
It's only January 2025. So you're looking forward to an interesting year, and hopefully hitting these targets, seeing more financing flow towards agriculture, more empowerment of personnel towards through training, which is very, very critical, and finding several ways to commercialize in different areas that they haven't thought about. Fish farming, this is the hour to think about it, because technology also enables it to happen. So it's an ongoing conversation that we'll have across the year. But thank you very much, John, for this engagement and making time to speak to us.
And thank you for having me, Noah.
Asante sana. Yes, John Eric, technical project manager, but they told me that he maintained that technical because the core is a farmer. He's grown fish. So sometimes you become a project manager and you're kept in the office analyzing charts. No, technicality leaves you and it makes you connected to the ground to be able to continue practicing. That is how you connect, and through JDs also. It helps you keep that passion alive. So he's the technical project manager at Lattice Aquaculture. And he says that as much as there is a huge gap when it comes to supply of this protein we call fish, with interventions when it comes to financing, technical abilities, finding ways to bring cost of feed down or manageable. All these interventions to make sure that the aquaculture sector in Kenya is growing as it should. And there is a huge potential. It's welcoming you to join the value chain and become a fish farmer, because with your fish grown well in the right way, you'll never lack market. You'll make money and be able to expand because the demand is right there. The market is there. That's been our conversation today. Thank you very much for being part of the Farm Kenya show. It's been a pleasure having you. Make sure that today you have some fish, okay? Just in solidarity with the show. My name is Nokip Kivoy. We're out for now.
Kuwa na uhakika sasa, kukulea, step up.